Hello and welcome to the Aquarius Podcast. I'm your host, Randy Reed. This special Peru edition of the podcast was made possible by Owaza. Now, I have a dilemma, and that dilemma happens to involve 3 audio files of interviews I conducted while down in Peru on a fish collecting trip with MT Amazon. Even though I was using my very specific interview kit from a well-known microphone company, each interview ended up having a significant amount of audio distortion. Just know that I've used this kit for several interviews already published for this podcast with no issue. Thankfully, I had Corey using my Zoom H1 recorder as his personal mic, while Dean and I were both wearing lapel mics, which are components of the interview kit. So, as you can already assume, Dean and I recorded audio with distortions, while Corey's was free of distortions. Now, much to my surprise, you could clearly hear Dean since they were in close proximity, while I was a little harder to hear as I was farther away in the room. So, after some editing, I was able to bump up my audio levels and come away with what I believe is a great interview recapping our week-long trip in the Amazon with passable audio. Now, if you're an audio purist, move along. This is not the episode for you. But if you're someone who wants to hear a post-trip discussion between 3 fish nerds, you're going to enjoy this episode. Now, on to the interview.
Where do you want this loud?
Come here a minute.
Not on my nipple.
I got the itchiest
like
feet
the tetra that
ever
bit my
right
nipple?
now.
Yeah, I'm not believing that.
Yeah.
Tetra.
Magically, a tetra bit your nipple.
Tetra
Oh,
bit
you
my
dropped your
nipple.
camera and magically found it at the bottom of a river that was 40 feet deep. The tails are getting tall, buddy. Real tall.
What is today's date?
Friday, August 16th. Well, we're
How
gonna.
do I do my intro today?
How are you gonna get
It's Friday,
rid of the
August
echo in
16th.
here? Are you getting the echo when you talk?
It's fine.
No, it
Oh,
knows
this
not to
thing-
echo for me.
I need echoes for me. I can hear it up there. Hello? See,
Yeah, you got the echo.
I got the echo. Do you get the echo?
What echo?
Like when you talk like this.
The ceiling. It's when you aim at the ceiling, you get the
So mean
echo.
to me.
Today's date is Friday, August 16th, 2019, and I'm joined by an incredible cast of characters. First, we'll start with age before beauty. Master Breeder, Dean Tweedale. Welcome to the Aquarius Podcast.
Thank you. I'm here.
And first quad guest ever on the Aquarius Podcast.
Yes.
Podcast, the most
I've been
recommended,
abused.
the most requested repeat guest, the one and only Corey McElroy.
Does that make me a dose guest?
This is number 2, yeah.
Yeah.
So this is your second time on the podcast, Dean. This is a very special episode. So we are back in Iquitos, Peru, at the wonderful DoubleTree by Hilton. Unfortunately, no sponsorships from Hilton for this episode.
But if they're listening,
But if they're listening, Paris Hilton, please
Yes.
contact me at Aquarius Podcast, and we can talk. That's hot. Is she still saying that?
I think so.
So it is. It's about 9 o'clock of the night here. We just got off the boat after a 5-day expedition with MT Amazon. MT Amazon Expeditions, collecting fish in the wild in the Peruvian Amazon. My first time, Dean's third time collecting fish in Peru,
time.
Corey's second time collecting fish in Peru. And so this is just going to be a very informal kind of recap. Not hitting every point, but I think we'll just...
go over each bug bite.
I think we're just going to BS. Yeah, we're going to... If we had a talking point for every bug bite, we're going to be here for a long time.
For a long,
Yeah.
especially on you.
Oh my goodness, the spiders got me on the feet.
Yeah.
Yeah, they tore me up pretty bad. Where do we want to start? Do we want to talk about the tetras biting my nipples?
Oh, now it's more than one? You guys don't even know this.
Tetras.
Sorry.
Tetras now,
Sorry.
right?
You don't even
Sorry.
know the stories of the tall tales this guy's been telling all week.
Oh, man.
Yeah, so it was after we were collecting fish in the Santa Ana. So that was the village with with the gift shop at the end.
Right.
Jumping in the water, so you're super muddy when you get done collecting. Even though this one was actually a pretty clean spot,
Yeah.
it was actually really cool, like kind of a pool lake. Unfortunately,
It was a spring.
It was a spring-fed lake.
a little man-made kind of action to make it more civic for the folks of the village, but still really cool fish in there. Well, rainbow
Wolffish, yep.
Right.
Achilles, Apistos, Brycon, Tetras.
So we got to do
And the clearest water that we saw the whole week.
super clear, really cool, and actually 3 types of collecting methods. So dip nets, seining, and cast net.
Cast net.
So one of the local guys had a cast net, and that was pretty cool to watch him work that.
And he knew how to use it too.
Yeah,
He was a
yeah.
pro.
Yeah, he definitely knew how to use it. That was pretty awesome to watch. So getting super muddy, kind of the protocol was to basically just jump into the river and clean yourself off, take your shoes off, take your pants, take your collecting shirt off, throw it up on the boat, and just kind of wash the mud off of you in the Amazon River or one of the tributaries to it. And while I was doing it at this particular spot, as I'd gotten my shirt off and I was working on my pants, floating in the water, all of a sudden I just wham, felt something like just get me right on the left nipple, and it was good times, man. I got out of that water pretty fast. So apparently tetras, some of the larger tetras, maybe even some of the ones that we actually collected, but the ones that were actually in the river, they're known to do that. At a previous spot, I actually felt some brush up against my back.
Yeah.
But I didn't think anything of it. So that was good times.
Yeah.
Yeah. I almost got swept away on the main Amazon River when Devin jumped in, I jumped in, everyone else jumped in on the front of the boat.
And you jumped off the back.
Yeah, because Devin jumped off the back.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, I looked at Devin, I'm like, this current's strong. He's all, yes.
Yeah.
And he pulls out his hand, I could barely grab it because I was going down.
Yeah, so
Extreme.
So in timeline, people should have already heard the episode with Devin Graham, but for those that didn't catch that episode, Devin is the tour guide extraordinaire.
He needs his own TV show for real.
He does.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
he's a walking dictionary of bird,
Encyclopedia,
reptile,
yeah.
amphibian, fish. He is just spitting
Plants.
out the scientific descriptions, plants. I mean, he's an Amazon, dare I say, expert. And he's been doing this for 20 plus years.
Right. I asked him the other day, he's 26 years now
Wow.
that he's been coming down.
Leading and medical expeditions
And
too.
medical also, yeah.
Yeah, and it really shows. I mean, his ability to interface and interact with the local villages, the rapport that he's built with not only just the crew, but also pretty much every single village we stop at. They've done medical trips with. He's, they've worked with the locals on ensuring that we are in good favor as they bring collectors into the area, and we're not just, outsiders to this area coming into their bodies of water, taking fish out, even though these aren't food fish for them.
Right.
Most of them, the overwhelming majority, are not food
When we
fish.
show up, they don't know what we're doing.
Exactly, yeah.
Right.
But making sure that everything is on the level and that we're on good terms with him. So he is, much respect for Devin.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think it goes as far as, when we're walking in there, making sure we're not stepping on their crops.
Yeah, he was pointing out their crops that we wouldn't have known.
That's right,
Yeah.
Just it's all the little things that he does so well.
Mm-hmm.
Puts all that together and makes it into a great trip.
Yeah. So what did you guys think of this trip compared to past collecting trips? What were some things that you liked? What were some differences?
I really liked the fish being caught and then eating them. Like, I ate way more different stuff that it was cool to be like, that gets caught and then we actually eat it instead of like, oh, we bought it at the Peruvian grocery store and then ate it type of deal.
Your last trip down when you guys did Puerto Maldonado, so that was the van-based collecting trip with Michael Barber. What was the most? So what fishes did you have on that trip?
I don't think we really ate fish at all. Some ceviche, but
Ceviche, yeah. We didn't really collect fish there that we ate.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe we didn't catch large enough fish to eat.
yeah, it was a lot of small fish that we
A
were
lot of smaller
catching.
fish.
But we had picuru, which is like the giant rodent, and we had,
Right.
we had filet mignon one night, which was amazing.
Right.
And we had these different things, and I don't know, I guess the difference was because there was a home base of actual, we would eat out sometimes because the van would travel quite far, and then we would stop, and maybe it was a hostel, and then it was kind of just like, it's kind of like road tripping in the U.S. You drive, and you're like, okay, we're going to eat somewhere around here.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Some of them were terrible, and then some of them were awesome. Some were the best food I'd ever had in my life, and then some were like super warm soda. This chicken's been sitting dry for days. The rice is crunchy, and just like, oh.
The food on this trip was fantastic.
Yes.
Every single meal, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Was it Raul? Was that his name? Our chef?
I think so.
I mean, so yes.
He
Yeah,
was just,
yeah.
he was on point. I mean,
He's
that guy.
He's been
amazing.
the chef for them for. Well, I was on the same trip 2 years ago, different collecting locations, but the same trip, and he had been their chef 1 year before that. So that's the other thing that Devin has done is he's put a crew together that is passionate about what they are doing as a crew. I mean, the boat always is being cleaned.
There was a lot of pride for that boat.
Maintained. It's not breakfast, lunch, and dinner. It's 3 hot meals a day. So,
Yeah, I mean, that's a good point. It wasn't, continental breakfast of here's your Cheerios, here's your milk, and here's some toast.
right.
I mean, French toast, pancakes, like egg
Omelets.
fritters, omelets. Yeah, I mean, it was...
Fried eggs.
Yeah, and then lunch was, again, not just sandwiches, like
Right.
Fried tiger shovel nose,
Right.
rice,
Yeah.
salads, dinner.
A fresh
fish.
juice at every meal. A fresh juice.
yeah.
Fresh squeeze. Like
Fresh-
not
Fresh
concentrate.
squeeze, combo juices, passion fruit, star fruit, watermelon, wild tomato. It was crazy. But to go back real quick for those that, if you live under a rock and you're not following the Aquarium Co-op Instagram or Dean's Fish Room Instagram, the fishes that we ate. So you guys were posting live photos while we were on the
When we
water,
could find service.
we
It,
could
it
get
would take like
service.
30, 40 minutes to post a picture.
which I'm still conflicted about, the fact that we even had cell reception.
Yeah.
But, it was cool to be able to still stay in touch with family. But so to give the rundown, we had Tiger Shovel Nose,
Yep.
amazing.
Yep.
Pleco,
Pleco.
surprisingly delicious.
I wasn't a huge fan of it. I mean, I would eat it if someone forced me to, but I would never order it.
I think if it was fully clean and if it was already descaled, you didn't have the Pleco in the actual soup and it was just the flesh,
Maybe.
I think it would have been no
It
problem.
would
That
have
broth
been,
was
it would have
awesome.
been easier to eat.
I think the
But-
problem.
I also think you wouldn't get the same flavor.
I think the problem for me is like I felt like it needed tartar sauce, something. It was just like a real bland fish,
I could definitely agree with both tartar sauce and maybe having cocktail sauce available.
something. It needed something to
And maybe
jazz it up.
Maybe that makes it too much like the U.S.
But it was in a very plain soup meant for breakfast, and so I don't think you need to jazz up breakfast that much. So it probably accomplished its
yeah,
goal.
but how many people put Tabasco on their eggs at breakfast?
Yeah,
you
true.
know? So,
Which they did have Tabasco. I'm just not a spicy guy, so
And then the last two fish, not necessarily in order that we ate it, but discus. So that was definitely interesting. And discus, pretty tasty.
I thought it was decent. Yeah,
And then piranha.
piranha.
you're missing one
Oh,
too.
you're missing one. Dorado.
Oh, Dorado.
Dorado was really good today. We had that for lunch.
Yeah, so Dorado is basically, at least this one was a smaller version of a tiger shovel nose, but golden and without that tiger patterning. So Dean, you posted a picture of me holding the tiger shovel nose. I don't think we got any pictures of the Dorado, but
No, I didn't.
Yeah.
I didn't.
big, kind of apex catfish and delicious. And I think for me, those two fish, like they're on the bottom, they're just crushing other fish, and you would think that, I don't know, for some reason you would think that the flesh wouldn't taste good. Same idea with Pleco.
I was the same way with Pleco. This was the second time I had Pleco. The first time I did not like it. It tasted horrible compared to this time.
When did you have it? Was it on the first?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. But it wasn't on the trip.
It was like at a restaurant
Yeah, it
or
was in a
something.
restaurant,
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
But yeah, the discus was a little bit weird eating because I bred discus forever,
Yeah.
and now I'm like, but it was tasty,
Yeah.
bony. I will say discus had probably the most bones of anything that we had.
Yeah.
See, I thought piranha had the most bones.
Yeah, but they were small enough. I just chewed through them.
Yeah, you're right.
I felt like
yeah.
with the discus, I was able to just scrape with my fork along the bone.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
In that direction, and I wasn't getting at the small bones.
I would
Piranha.
also say the only fish I felt like we ate the discus out of novelty factor. All the other fish straight up like are harvested to eat.
Mhm.
Like the discus just happened to we lost some, and then they also were used for science. They were dissected, and then we ate them instead of
Right.
using them as bait to catch other fish or something like that. So it was definitely that was the only novelty where a lot of people when I was posting are like, "You're just doing this for the shock value." It's like the discus was the only one that was out of the normal that we would have normally been eating on that boat anyway.
Yeah, so I'm going to post the video of Neil and I actually dissecting why we dissected them. Neil has a PhD. He works over in the UK doing blood testing, but he also has a passion for aquatic animals. His PhD, I think he actually did parasitology. He was studying snails and the parasites that snails have.
Right.
And he's a very, very passionate aquarist. And so part of his whole... So he's down here for 2 weeks. The first week is to do the trip with Empty Amazon, so boxes checked there. The second week is he's actually meeting up with another PhD that's living here, is originally from Europe, works at one of their national parasitology institutes, whatever it is, and they're going to go around and collect different fish that are aquaculture. They're also going to collect fish in the wild, and they're going to science the crap out of these fish. So they're going to go and they're going to look at their guts to see what's in their gut biome, all of that stuff. They're going to look at their gills. I'll have him on the podcast. I don't know if I'm going to get a chance to sit down with him over the next 2 days before I fly out, or if we'll just have to connect over Skype and do the interview then. But Neil's working on some really, really cool stuff. He's got the English accent, so he sounds freaking brilliant. But yeah, no, that was straight up for science. Like, this was not shock value. This was not clickbait. No. This is straight up. He's down here. We put the gills in, not formaldehyde. It begins with an F, but it's a preservative.
Formalin.
Formalin. Yep. So we immediately put the gills into formalin, sealed them up, and he's got them with him. And when he meets up with his parasitology buddy, they're gonna examine those, and they're gonna look for the parasites in them that he's finding in these fish. But I don't want to go into that too much. But really, really interesting stuff that could have some pretty big implications for the hobby in terms of helping us understand maybe some sudden deaths that are unexplainable. When people have fish that die and they give the whole, well, my water quality is great, I do weekly water changes, and so on and so forth. This could be one of the causes of those sudden deaths.
Right, and I think a lot of people, going back to some of the posts on Instagram or Facebook, a lot of people don't realize that fish eat fish. And this economy, fish is one of their primary proteins. And if it's a fish big enough to eat, they're going to eat it, or they're going to dry it, or they're going to ingest it some way.
Yep, you guys are going to go to the market tomorrow. Corey, you're going to get the footage, throw it up on the main channel, and people will get to see that, this is life. This is day in and day out here. This is what they do. This is... it's cultural exchange. What we did,
it really is,
eating these fish, is cultural exchange. It's not clickbait. It's not shock value. It's not taking something that they've never eaten before. It is us coming here to this country and being as respectful as we can and participating in their culture and eating these foods.
Well, and it's no different that if they came to, like in our case, Seattle, would you take them out for a burger? Or tacos, or pizza,
salmon.
What about Dungeness crab?
Yeah,
Dungeness crab and salmon.
Exactly.
You know how novel Dungeness crab would be to somebody from Peru?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean that's local from our waters. That's native to our waters. We don't think twice about eating Dungeness crab from Puget Sound
or salmon.
Why should we think twice about that?
Even clams, mussels, oysters, scallops, shrimp.
Duck.
Yeah,
that's a weird looking creature right there, and people love that.
We eat trout, So we basically kind of immersed ourselves in their culture for the last.
That's what the expedition does. They seek out to do that. Tomorrow night we're trying a bunch of other local staple foods. I don't think there's anything too crazy in there, but it's more, like, oh, this is a food from Peru. You haven't had that yet. Here's a bunch of things on this table. Try them.
It'll be mildly interesting. I mean, it's going to be cayman.
Oh, for sure.
So, yeah, cayman tail.
Guinea pig.
But people in Louisiana and the South, they get down on alligator.
They do.
The giant rodent.
Right.
Yeah, Peru.
Yeah,
I've had that before.
Yeah, that guy. So that'll be interesting. But yeah, I mean, these are just foods that it's local. It's what they eat. It's part of their culture. So. And
it's not like they don't eat. I mean, they eat tomatoes, radishes, cucumbers, all sorts of fruits. And coming from the culinary background, I look at their fruits and vegetables a lot. It's like, these are really fruits and vegetables. We get so many in our mass-produced supermarkets where, they are ripened with nitrogen gases and they're not pulled off the vine or the branch to eat.
The Santa Ana pineapple that we had today. So we went back to collect more tetras from that same spot.
That was cut today.
Yeah, that was cut today. We had it for lunch or dinner.
Lunch.
We had it for lunch. It was delicious.
Yeah.
That was such a good pineapple.
Yeah.
I think that was a couple soles that cost us.
Yeah, it was fun. Like, it's you just have to immerse yourself in it, and you have to go with the mentality of, I'm going to try everything that's out here that looks... I mean, I think most people are put off by the way things look, But
yeah.
it's because we have different presentation in food.
I mean, honestly, if you look at the cooked pleco, you're like, that's a big, ugly fish.
For sure, absolutely.
But if you
Right.
harvested all the meat, no one would know, or the
And-
flesh.
Nobody would know.
Do we want to get into where those came from?
I think so. I think it'll
So
lead into the video.
one of the things that, and you guys will see this on the future video, but we bought those from people that were collecting them for the market.
Floating down the
They're
Amazon.
floating down the middle
3-day
of the Amazon.
trip down
As
the
we're
Amazon.
as we're going up, they're going down. We stopped, turned around.
It was so it's a rectangular raft that has a roughly 1,500 gallon capacity netted pen. Basically.
Think of it like a
Floating
giant breeder box that
Right.
holds humans
And
and fish.
They do the same thing in the Pacific Ocean with tuna.
Yes.
So they'll put tuna in pens
And salmon.
and move them around. They do it with salmon, and they were doing it with plecos.
Right.
And we see that, we're up on the third deck of the MF Esperanza.
That's right.
And we're just hanging out, we're bird watching, we're waiting to get to our next stop, just enjoying the adventure. And we look over, we see this. It's like, what is that raft doing?
Right.
And they say, oh, those are the plecos going to market. And what was so funny is to them, it was just so normal. But for me,
To
I'm
us.
gonna take all the credit for this one. I'm like, light bulb. If we're looking for something to share with people,
Right.
even if we didn't share it, I want to see. I want to get close.
I wanted to see it.
Yeah, so we jumped in the little Go Fast boat, the Mackay, I think we called it.
I think that's what
Yeah, the Mackay. So we jumped in the Mackay, which is tied up to the main vessel. So we're in the Go Fast boat. We pull up to this thing, and the guys that were manning it were they're having a siesta. They're just floating down the Amazon.
Literally
And,
all were asleep. That's the thing. Is like they're
Yeah,
just floating down this giant river,
Yep.
and they're hoping days go by because it takes days, and there's no internet, there's no power, there's literally there's no bathroom. There's a river. You hang off the side of the raft and go to the bathroom.
Yeah,
Right.
so the gringos roll up, and again, Devin and the crew, Segundo, communicating with the guys like, hey, these guys are interested. They're fish collectors. They want to see what you have, and we want to buy some plecos from you. So we got some great footage of that, and for them, that's. The business came to them, 3 days in advance of when they'd be able to actually bring it to market.
Exactly.
And so that's just super easy sell for them. And the crew was super excited because they got fresh pleco
Right.
because they wanted
Right.
it just as much as we did.
Right.
So that was a win-win all around, and that was pretty cool seeing.
It was fun. That was
Yeah.
really fun.
Well, they said 10,000.
Yeah.
in the cage.
10,000 pterygoplichthys, foot-long plecos.
Yeah.
Alive, floating in this barge down the river. So
Right.
100% water changes all day long.
Yep.
That was a cool experience.
And they had said it took 3 days or a week to collect them, right? Yeah, it was a week to collect 10,000 of
3
them.
days to get them to the market,
Yeah.
and then they would go from the market, go back up the river, and do it all over again.
Did we get any underwater footage of that?
No, because it was so brown.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
so tannin. So not even tan, just muddy
Yeah,
muddy
and it's
water.
Not so much. We're not just saying that of the pin, but the entire river. The entire
Yeah.
river system is
Yeah.
just unfortunately too murky.
You can't see more than 6 inches in front of you. Like you put your hand in the water, it disappears.
Yeah, which I know because part of my swimming adventures was jumping into the water again after a collecting point. Jumping into the water to clean off. And I said, "Hey, this will be a cool shot to have my head strapped mounted GoPro. I'll jump in the water." And I had enough common sense to actually hold it onto my head as I jumped in. But as I jumped in, I realized that my hand was covering the GoPro. It's like, oh crap! And so I let go of it as I'm surfacing, and as I break the surface, I think I did a Bo Derek move with my head. Just kind of splashing my head around. And I'm pretty sure at that point, that's when the GoPro strap came off my head. Of course, sank straight to the bottom because there was no flotation on it.
Right.
And I think it was at least 10 or 12 feet of water. And on the first breath down, after feeling it, I think I felt probably a couple sticks. I grabbed something, I thought it was it, but it was leaves. And then I searched a little bit more with the last breath that I have. And by no means have I been practicing my deep water breath holding techniques. I felt the strap. And so I saved
Got it back.
my freaking GoPro Hero Black 7, brand new.
The worst part is the water's so brown none of that footage will even be cool. Like,
Yeah.
imagine
You
you
might just
swimming
see my
up on
foot,
it. Yeah,
or
like
you might
imagine
just see my
you.
hand hit it, and that's
Yeah, it
about
would have been
it.
amazing to like see that, but it's
But yeah,
so
I had-
dark.
I had quite the celebration though, finding that camera. My wife would have killed me. She'd be like, "You're not getting another one."
Yep.
That would have been good times.
That'd be your last
And you would have lost all the footage too, which is the worst part. That's my biggest fear always.
Yeah.
Yeah.
People always like, oh yeah, if they steal it and they're worried about the money. And I'm like, you don't get it. It's way more than the money. Like, you can rebuy cameras. You can't rebuy all the filming.
The experience,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah.
No, you can't. So here's a question for the audience. For Apple product, do they make AirDrop external hard drives?
Yeah, we were all
If you
wondering
know
about
of
that.
one, if you know of one, leave it in the comments, because that on this trip would have been real nice to have that secondary backup. Oh, I got some great footage on the iPhone, great
Mm-hmm.
pictures. AirDrop that to the external hard drive. Double redundancy.
Right.
Let's go film some more stuff
Right.
Without taking a ton of power too. We need that.
without taking a ton of power.
Yeah.
AirDrop is super fast though.
Yeah, it
AirDrop
can't
works
be.
crazy fast. That's
Yeah.
why you need to just get a Mac.
Can't do it.
Let go, man.
Can't do it.
Join the dark side.
Mm-mm.
Join the proper side.
And for GoPro, make a battery that lasts longer than a half hour.
Oh yeah.
Mine were lasting just fine at 90 minutes.
I wasn't getting 90 minutes. Maybe, well, I think I got 60 minutes. I think 60 minutes was the most, and with about 10% left. But to your point, though, maybe that last 10%, it's like a car gas tank equivalent, where that last quarter tank seems to, last an extra 300 miles.
Yeah.
Right.
Somehow those
Right.
things just aren't calibrated, or the dealerships do that on purpose.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So being an Amazon first timer,
Oh yes, Steve, I'm in the hot seat. I like this.
what was your highlight of the trip?
Sharing it with you guys.
It was actually tying it all back to working at Amazon.com.
Yeah.
I was wondering if he was going to do that.
So when Jeff and I used to have our one-on-ones, there was no. One of the highlights, like the first thing that comes to mind, was collecting angelfish in the in I think what was my favorite collecting spot. This, how did you describe it? It was basically a floodwater lake.
I feel like a rice paddy lake or so. That's what kept reminding me of, just like this 2 to 3 foot deep water that just went on forever.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
It actually was. It was pretty expansive, but after we had, so I started in the creek with the killie guys, and I realized I didn't want to be in there because I was getting nothing but the Galaxy woodcats, which are
Right.
pretty cool looking. Killifish, apistos, which apistos are awesome, but after you're at the 17th spot and you keep getting apistos,
Mm-hmm.
you want to get something new.
Right.
And so you guys were in the main body of water of the lake. Actually, Dean was on the shore. You didn't even go to the water
I was
on that
filming,
one.
yeah.
You were filming, Corey, you were in the water, and you kept picking up sticks, and you're getting giant autos, you're getting
Plecos,
ancistrus, you're
yeah,
getting plecos, and I hadn't done that yet. Like, oh, I didn't even know that was a thing. So I joined you. We went around hunting for submerged logs. So you didn't want to find anything that was completely, smushed to the ground. You wanted something where part of it was submerged, but with some distance between the log and the actual bottom. So the plecos
Right.
and autos would be underneath, but not in the mud. So we went around, we hunted for those, and after probably about 20 minutes of that, which was super fun, because you pick up a log and put your net underneath it super fast, and you'd have autos falling down and ancestors falling
You'd only
down
catch
into your
like
net.
1 out of 100, but you'd still get 6 in the net, because there was a
Right.
bunch on the logs.
Yeah, so
Right.
I've got some giant autos coming home with me, but then we started seeing like these fish like jumping at the surface.
Right around you.
Yeah, and you get a
right
close
around
look,
you.
you're like, those are angelfish.
Yep.
Those are shiny, black striped, blue iridescent, beautiful angelfish. And so just, screw it, I'm gonna go for it. And taking the dip net when one jumps up, and then all of a sudden just trying to, go as fast as you can, running in the water and chasing after this jumping angelfish. And for some reason, they don't submerge. They stay at the surface and they just kind of jump and hop along. So just being it's like SpongeBob when he's chasing butterflies or jellyfish in the cartoons. I mean, just having such a good time taking 2 or 3 whiffs at this fish, and then finally it happens that you get one. You get an angelfish that was jumping that you just spent 30 seconds running around chasing, waving your net like a madman, and you've got this gorgeous fish in your net, and then there's more. And then it's game on. And so spending the next, 15 minutes chasing angelfish, I think I got 5 or 6 myself
Yeah.
for doing that.
Totally. Yeah.
And I mean, that was so much fun. And I think one of them was this, World Series style diving in the outfield for that fly ball to win the game. And, barely keeping the net above water and having the angelfish in it after that dive.
Yeah.
That was so awesome. So I think that one, that was a really, really awesome memory. Or a really, really awesome experience.
That was a cool lake too.
Yeah.
The local people were using, I think, gill nets to catch, but they weren't having very much success. So, but you guys were a little closer into the shore, but it was pretty shallow all the way across from what Devin had said.
And in completely different target species. Like, they weren't going for angels or pistos or killies. They were going for probably Oscars. I mean, if they got an Oscar in their net, they'd probably be pretty happy.
Yeah.
Anything big enough to eat, I would assume.
Yeah.
That's what they're farming for.
Larger fish, probably larger catfish and stuff.
Yeah, and we did get an Oscar from there. I think, was it T-Pain? I
That's
think that's his working name right now. Is T-Pain. He's about, 4 inches?
Yeah, he's a little guy.
He's a smaller guy.
Yeah.
So that was definitely an awesome experience. But just, a big part of this trip for me is to be able to come down and finally experience what it is to collect in the wild. Because, if I were to categorize my passions in the hobby, which, my favorite term that this hobby is multifaceted, is breeding, the fishing, breeding, not so much biotope, but just understanding fish in the wild, their habitat, and then of course wanting to go and collect. So I would say those are kind of my passion areas in the hobby. And so being able to finally say that I've gone out, I've collected in the wild in Florida's pretty wild. I've collected there, but to actually go out of country and go to where these fish originate from, go to where the neon tetra is, go to where the discus is and the angelfish. I mean, this has been so amazing, and I hope for the audience, that just lends this extra layer of credibility that Randy kind of he's full of crap half the time, but another half he went down there and he's done some stuff and he's seen some things. So that was
on the largest river system in the world.
Is it the largest river system in the world?
I think it would
have to be system-wise. It would have to be.
It is. It's the largest river system in the world.
Maybe the Congo probably rivals it. Congo's pretty big.
I think the Congo is the longest. But what did I hear? I think it's 30% of all of the fresh water in the world flows down the Amazon.
So on that point,
I'm not positive on that.
Seeing the different water level lines.
Oh yeah.
And having Devin tell us, 4 days ago the river was 6 feet higher. And this is going to be incredibly difficult to kind of convey over an audio format. But 6 feet of water drop on a body of water that spans,
like 2 to 6 miles.
I asked at one spot, it was like, this channel right here is a mile wide.
It's crazy. And then the high water mark,
it's 40 feet or something.
In some of these tighter areas, some of these tighter kind of S-curve rivers, the high water mark was an extra 40 feet above where the boat.
I mean, if you're at home right now, look out at a tree and then look 3/4 up that tree and then go, that's where the water line is.
Yep. And that's just spread across this floodplain delta. Incredible.
I mean, there's islands that become underwater.
And I knew coming down here that it wasn't about what fish I could bring back. I knew if I had the opportunity to bring back discus, I was going to be super, super happy. Worst case scenario, I would just come and steal some of your babies from your discus. But if I could bring back those, that would have been amazing. That would have been icing on the cake. But to come down here and experience the collecting aspect, seeing them in the wild, but then also just the environment, and that's something that you didn't really expect. And I also didn't expect to want to actually look for vermiliads. And, we had orchids, right? There was orchids down here.
Yes.
I think we came across some orchids.
A few.
Orchids and parakeets, parrots, macaws, all the different birds that are down here. And then coming across, you guys weren't, you hadn't shown up yet, but, coming across a frog while we're walking to the discus quote-unquote farm.
How about a baby marmoset?
Oh, good point.
How about the trip mascot, our baby marmoset?
Yeah.
All right, so who wants to share about the baby marmoset so people don't think we just pillaged?
So
a baby marmoset?
at the place where we were catching,
Santa Ana.
yeah, my fish out of the clear spring, we were amassing a crowd because it was a little bit larger of a village, I guess. Because I asked Devin, he said, "No, it's one of the larger ones."
Yep.
And there was a bunch of kids, but then there was some adults just making sure, like, what are they doing? Because all our kids are down there. That's like there's a group, and there's probably 20 to 30 people kind of milling around, and then we spot these kids that, essentially what I say is that's a baby monkey. Like
Right.
they basically had a monkey on a string, and
She had it on her head.
yeah, it was on her head, and then so of course we start with like, someone asked if we can take a picture with that monkey,
Right.
and we did, and we took pictures, and then I think, was it Devin's idea to kind
No,
of
we just started talking about.
I think
like,
Michael was more concerned that the survival rate of those
is pretty low.
babies is fairly low.
okay,
And so he kind of conveyed that to Devin, which I think Devin already had some gears turning in his head.
yep,
And so it was, let's see if we can't, rescue this baby marmoset
Right.
from this situation.
yeah, I think they traded like paper and pens for it or something, because they're
coloring.
coloring, like a coloring book, and then we were able to bring that marmoset, which was a saddleback marmoset, onto the boat, so we had prior knowledge, knowing that in a couple of days from now of recording this podcast, we're going to basically the Monkey Island Sanctuary, where they rescue a bunch of abandoned, monkeys or
mistreated or
Yeah, exactly.
lost, whatever. Yeah.
And so part of the crew on the boat, their cousin actually runs it. So it was like kind of already pre-okayed. It wasn't just like one of these like, we're just going to bring a bunch of stuff with us, and we're uninformed people, and you guys do this, right? It was kind of already like, nope, this is totally going to work. It's already called ahead. And so yeah, we've had this baby little monkey just hanging out with us all week that is cute and hilarious, and everyone's had their selfie time and
Right.
all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, and we definitely let the monkey warm up to us. Devin, just being down here for 26 years, knew how to handle the situation and how to care for this thing. So it was very, it didn't take long for it to feel comfortable around Devin. And then after about a day or so, it started warming up to the rest of us.
Yeah.
Making sure that we were feeding it, giving it water, plenty of fruits. They're omnivores. Giving it vegetables,
Bugs?
Bugs. It got down on some peanuts. It got down on
A little bit of fish.
a little bit of egg from breakfast, and it was incredibly cute, adorable little thing.
I don't think there was anybody there that didn't at one point have it on their shoulder for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right now it's in a hotel room because it's still a couple of days before we take it to the reserve. So
It's sleeping in a t-shirt.
Yeah.
What's so funny is after its nap, or before its nap, as it got tired, it would start getting cranky.
yeah,
Just like a kid.
And then Devin knew, he's like, somebody's getting cranky, it's time for a nap. And so he'd make a little marsupial pouch with his t-shirt. He'd tuck his t-shirt in, and the marmoset would sleep inside of his shirt in that fold, or sometimes it would go in his cargo pant pocket.
Right.
So he would ask, hey guys, make sure I remember that there's a monkey in my pocket, so he doesn't want to squish it or jump in the water and forget about it.
Right.
But yeah, that was cool.
And we didn't actually. The kids, when they had it, kept it on a string or rope leash, and when that leash came off, and it was pretty much free.
yeah.
But it stayed right with us.
Well, and we would actually Devin would actually try to get it to play on the rebar chair, which is,
Right.
we're going to have to do a whole podcast just on the rebar rocking chair.
My favorite
Here
thing.
in Peru.
Nice.
Yeah, you guys don't even know about that. That's next level
They were
leisure
nice.
leisure equipment. So he would actually encourage it to go and explore, but he was home base for it. He was home base mom and dad for that marmoset.
Yep.
All right, guys. Well, I think we're all three of us are pretty exhausted.
Got to be up in
We
like
gotta be up
6
at 6 in the
hours to
morning.
do the next thing we got to film.
We're going to go to a local market at 6, and then after that we have to go and create our fish list for export and import.
Yep.
and then we're going to go back to the market and potentially go to the area of the market where fishermen come in that are both fishing for food fish as well as tropical fish for mine and yours out there.
Yeah, this is true.
We want to try to film all the process. One, might be able to buy some fish, but two, like, see what it actually is. It just a bucket of all mixed fish? Or do they know? Do they sort it on the,
Right.
like on the
that?
boat right at the dock? Like, or do they know? Or is it like, who's buying this for food fish? No one? All right, to the aquarium wholesaler it goes. Who knows how it goes down.
Exactly.
So we'll find out.
To get something there and take it through the whole process of getting it.
That's a good idea too.
Yeah.
Just to
Getting it
buy
to the
something.
States.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
Just so people would see the process. This is it getting bought, bagged, shipped.
Yeah, because most
Received.
most wouldn't collect it like us. It'd be when a home hobbyist is buying, really they're buying maybe from the step I buy from, and that is someone going, hey, I'm willing to buy wild-caught discus. They bring it into the United States. Then I buy from them typically.
Right.
Then someone buys from me. And we get to look at the level even behind the wholesaler at this point of,
Right.
and I'm real curious to see, is it like there's thousands of discus to pick from where it's like, there was 40,000 fish, but only 4 discus there. Like, they are rare. Or, they're all over the place. Who knew?
Yeah, and I often have said this, that, the amount of fish that we collect in the Amazon, I'm just talking about this river because that's the only place I've ever collected in the wild, is like a drop in a thunderstorm. There are so many millions of fish.
Well, what I said today when we went back to Santa Ana, pointing out in some video footage, was that we're not even showing you the fry.
Yeah.
Thousands and thousands of fry that we're completely ignoring.
Right.
That if you take out some adults that would predate on them, they're just going to come in and fill the void.
Right.
And nobody's going out there collecting fry.
No.
Nobody's going out there collecting these small juvenile fish.
Mm-hmm.
They're typically collecting the older juvenile fish or the adult fish. And so that's something where, for me, like in these collecting spots, knowing that there's 10 times the amount of fry that there are adults, typically from what I've seen,
right.
It's like there's no concern. And the fact that a lot of this are dry pools as well, that if these fish don't get out of there and go farther downstream into the main body, they're going to dry up.
Yeah.
And we actually saw some of that.
Yeah, we did.
We saw some of those
especially
pools.
those last couple spots. Yeah.
Where you've got a 10-gallon hole in the ground the streams in and out are completely dried up, and it's just this hole in the ground now, and there's 250 fish in there.
Right, of all different varieties.
Of all different varieties, yep.
Just trying to survive until they dry up.
And the birds are going to come.
Yep.
The other animals are going to come, and the sun's going to get.
Yep.
So, I really hope that with the different formats that this trip is bringing them, so obviously the Maine Aquarium Co-op YouTube channel with footage and the fantastic editing, and hopefully this different format of the podcast, it's really going to help to give people a well-rounded experience of what a collecting trip in Peru is, or what the tropical fish hobby means to this area, and just what kind of a little bit of the culture and whatnot for people that may never come down here, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And then also just for myself and for us to be reminded or to learn it for the first time. So hopefully it makes us all more well-rounded as humans and as aquarists. So
exactly.
Indeed.
Man, I wish I had a good sign-off. I could sign off right there.
Sign off, okay.
Sign off.
This is Dean, Corey, and Randy signing off from Iquitos. Good night.